As a Warlock, there's a way to get amplified almost 100% of the time, plus spawn autonomous turrets to help you out in all levels of content. Today I'm going to run through this endgame-ready Warlock Arc 3.0 build with Getaway Artist, check out that Arc 3.0 setup, the weapons, the armour and the mods, so you can take on endgame Destiny 2 content as an electrified Warlock today. Well, if you're new around here or find this useful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for all the latest Destiny 2 content, and turn on notifications by hitting that bell. Roughly 98% of viewers who watch This Week in Video Games aren't subscribed, so subscribe today and never miss an update. Well, let's dive right into the build, and first of all check out that Arc 3.0 setup. So with my super, I'm using Chaos Reach. My grenade, I'm using a skip grenade. For the melee, chain lightning, and class ability, I'm using a healing rift. For the aspects, I'm using Arc Soul, so cast your rift to create an Arc Soul that fires at targets in front of you, and allies pass through the rift get an Arc Soul as well, and your rift charges faster when allies are near, and while you're amplified your Arc Souls are supercharged, and they gain an increased rate of fire. I'm also using electrostatic mine, so defeating targets with arc abilities or defeating jolted or blinded targets creates an ionic trace, and collecting an ionic trace makes you amplified. For the fragments, I'm using Spark of Amplitude, so rapidly defeating targets while you're amplified creates an orb of power. Spark of Beacons, so when the player is amplified, Arc special weapon kills create a blinding explosion. And then Spark of Recharge, so while critically wounded, your melee and grenade energy regenerate more quickly. And then Spark of Resistance, so when surrounded by enemies, the player has an increased damage resistance. For that exotic armour, I'm using Getaway Artist. So Getaway Artist are exotic Warlock gauntlets that come with a perk Dynamic Duo. So convert your Arc Grenade into an Arc Soul and become amplified, and the Arc Soul functions as an autonomous turret. Also get increased mobility, really useful for Warlocks with Arc 3.0. So you can get Getaway Artist from Zur, or you can get that gift in Season of Plunder, gift from the Thunder Gods, and you can find that in the Helm. Well, next up, let's have a look at the weapons. So in my kinetic slot, I'm using Succession. This one is a legendary kinetic sniper rifle, which is an aggressive frame sniper, meaning high damage and high recoil. This one is a great PvE sniper because of its huge damage output, plus also the Deep Stone Crypt perk Reconstruction. And Reconstruction is where the weapon slowly reloads itself over time, up to double capacity. In the energy slot, I'm using Horror's Least, and Horror's Least is a legendary energy pulse rifle with a rapid fire frame, meaning deeper ammo reserves, and gets slightly faster reload when the magazine is empty. So Heating Up and Vorpal Weapon is a really good role with this one. So Heating Up is where final blows of the weapon increase accuracy and stability while improving the vertical recoil, and with Vorpal Weapon you get increased damage against bosses, vehicles, and also Guardians with their super active. In the power slot I'm using Thunderlord. This one is an exotic heavy machine gun that delivers arc damage, and it's got the perks Rain Havoc. So kills with the weapon generate lightning strikes from above, and Feeding Frenzy, where each rapid kill with a weapon progressively increases the reload speed for a short time. And also this is extra good in Season 18, because Thunderlord is great for arc builds because of that intrinsic overload ability. Well, finally then, let's have a look at the mods. I'm using Melee Wellmaker, powered melee combatant final blows spawn elemental wells that match your subclass energy type. I'm using Bountiful Wells, so elemental well mods that cause you to spawn elemental wells now stack, spawning additional wells for each additional copy of the mod you have equipped. So I'm using multiple copies here of Melee Wellmaker. That's going to help me spawn loads of elemental wells. Also using Font of Might, so picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type grants you a temporary bonus to weapon damage. Also using Anti-Barrier Sniper and Unstoppable Pulse Rifle. Well, this build is all about getting amplified, so let's have a quick recap on amplified with Arc 3.0. So an amplified Guardian is faster, both in terms of movement speed and in terms of their weapon handling. They're more agile and able to perform long slides that can function as a devastating setup for some of the attacks that follow. Players don't need to equip any specific aspects or fragments to become amplified. By default, all arc classes become amplified after rapidly defeating targets with any arc damage, and equipped aspects and fragments offer additional ways to become or benefit from being amplified. So for example, after sprinting for a few seconds, an amplified Guardian will gain another boost in speed, gaining a sizable PvE damage resistance buff, and enabling an even longer slide ability. Well, let's have a look at the gameplay loop with this Warlock Arc 3.0 build. So you want to get amplified, create Arc Souls, generate orbs of power, build up your super, unleash Chaos Reach and also Thunderlord for big damage, and then generate more Arc Souls. This one is a really useful endgame Warlock Arc 3.0 build for Season of Plunder, and focuses on getting amplified, creating Arc Souls and using champion mods for the season, so if you're checking out this guide in the future, you can always use different champion mods and weapons depending on what the meta is and what the mods are at the time. First of all, I'm using Getaway Artist, and that allows Warlocks to become amplified very easily this season just by eating their grenade. Now you've got these speed benefits for becoming amplified, but also Warlocks get a sizable PvE damage resistance buff, as described by Amplified. This is going to come really useful in endgame PvE content like raids, lost sectors and nightfalls of all levels. So while we're amplified, we're going to be using our fragments to gain additional benefits. So Spark of Amplitude is going to help us create orbs of power, and that's going to help us get our super back nice and quickly. It's also going to let us unleash Chaos Reach, which is going to give us some big damage output and useful for big enemies and also bosses. Spark of Beacons are going to help us create blinding explosions with our weapons, and blinding opponents in PvE content, that's going to help us get through them faster. I'm using a combination of champion mods and weapons here. This is going to help cater for any mix of champions in endgame PvE content. So I'm using Succession with Anti-Barrier Sniper. Succession is a great weapon, one that can be found in the Deepstone Crypt raid on Europa, but if you don't have this one, don't worry, you can swap it out for another sniper. I'm also using Horror's Least. This one is an Arc Pulse Rifle, and Arc weapons in the energy and power slot are really important. If you don't have Horror's Least, then swap it out for another Arc Pulse Rifle. I'm using this for the Unstoppable Champions this season, and then finally I'm using Thunderlord, which now has built-in Overload Champion capability, and all of these together mean we can take out any and all champions. Another benefit of this build is the near constant Arc Buddies or Arc Souls created when we drop a well due to our healing rifts, plus also this is part of our exotic perks on Getaway Artist, so Arc Souls act as an autonomous turret that's going to help us out in all content, whether it's PvE or PvP. These turrets are really going to help you clean up smaller enemies and lay on constant damage on other enemies in the game. Well, let me know in the comments what you think of the build, and let me know if you've got any improvements. Well, that is it for this guide for this electrified endgame Warlock Arc 3.0 build with Getaway Artist in Destiny 2. And as always, thank you so much for watching or listening. For more Destiny 2 content like this, hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to This Week in Video Games. Or you can check me out on Twitter at TWIVG Podcast. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, liking and sharing the video would really help me out. Otherwise, check out the other videos on the channel. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.